I was 28 when my world crumbled. Life had seemed perfect, or at least, close enough. I had a decent job as a graphic designer in a bustling city, a small apartment I'd decorated with care, and dreams of starting my own creative agency someday. My days were filled with sketches, color palettes, and late-night coffee runs to meet deadlines. Friends called me the hustler with a heart, always juggling projects while checking in on them, planning weekend meetups, or helping with their problems. But beneath the surface, I was running on fumes. The pressure to perform, to keep up with bills, to be the dependable Onia, it was suffocating. I ignored the signs, the sleepless nights, the constant anxiety gnawing at my chest, the feeling that I was never enough. I thought I could push through, like always, but life had other plans. One gray Tuesday morning, I got the call that changed everything. My boss, usually calm and collected, sounded tense. "We're downsizing," he said. "I'm sorry, but we have to let you go." Just like that, my job, the one thing holding my fragile world together, was gone. I sat on my couch, staring at the wall, my portfolio scattered across the coffee table like a mockery of my dreams. No job meant no rent money, no groceries, no future. I felt like I was drowning, and no one could throw me a lifeline. The weeks that followed were a blur of desperation. I sent out hundreds of job applications, but the responses were either rejections or silence. My savings dwindled faster than I could have imagined. I started selling things on my camera, my favorite books, even the little plants I'd nurtured on my windowsill. My friends tried to help, but I pushed them away, too ashamed to admit how far I'd fallen. I'd always been the one they leaned on, the one with advice, the one who had it together. Now, I was a failure, and the weight of that word crushed me. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, replaying every mistake I'd ever made, wondering where I went wrong. Was it that client pitch I fumbled, the degree I didn't pursue, or was I just not good enough? My confidence, once my strongest asset, was gone. I stopped sketching, stopped dreaming. I stopped being me. One evening, starving and too proud to ask for help, I wandered into a small community center near my apartment. I'd passed it 1,000 times but never went inside. That night, something pulled me in, and maybe desperation, maybe fate. The room was warm, filled with mismatched chairs and people who looked as tired as I felt. A woman with kind eyes, maybe in her 60s, was speaking at the front. Her name was Amara, and she ran a support group for people struggling with life's curveballs. I didn't plan to stay, but her voice held me. She wasn't preaching or promising miracles. She was sharing her own story of how she'd lost her home, her family, everything, and found a way to rebuild. The secret, she said, isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about finding what's still whole inside you. I didn't know what she meant, but her words stuck, like a seed planted in barren soil. I started attending the group weekly, not because I believed in it, but because it was free, and I had nowhere else to go. Amar became my anchor. She listened to my rants about lost opportunities, nod quietly, and then ask questions that made me think. "What's one thing you love about yourself?" she'd ask. I'd laugh bitterly. I didn't even like myself anymore. But she kept pushing, gently, persistently. One night, she gave us an assignment: write down one thing you've always wanted to do but never had the courage for. I stared at the blank paper for hours. My dreams of starting an agency felt like a cruel joke now. But as I sat there, something else surfaced: a memory of my childhood, sitting in my grandmother's garden, drawing flowers and imagining they could tell stories. I loved creating, not just designs for clients, but stories that made people feel. I wrote, "Tell a story that matters." It felt silly, impossible, but Amara read it and smiled. "That's your spark," she said. "Hold on to it." The spark didn't fix my problems. I was still broke, still jobless, still lost, but it was a flicker of light in the darkness. I started carrying a notebook, jotting down ideas, and not for clients, but for me. Stories about people like me, people who felt invisible, people who needed hope. I'd write in the community center, in coffee shops, on park benches. It wasn't much, but it was something. For the first time in months, I felt alive. Then came the day that almost broke me again. My landlord gave me an ultimatum: Pay rent or leave. I had 2 weeks. Panic set in. I stopped writing, stopped going to the group. I shut down, convinced the spark was a lie. That's when Amara showed up at my door with a small box. Inside was a journal, a pen, and a note. Your story isn't over. Keep writing. I cried that night, not out of sadness, but because someone believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I don't know why, but I opened that journal and wrote. I wrote about my fears, my failures, my dreams. I wrote about the kid who loved drawing flowers, the adult who felt like a stranger in her own life. And as I wrote, I realized something. I wasn't just writing story essay, I was writing my story. That realization was the first piece of the secret Amara had hinted at. It wasn't about fixing my life overnight, it was about finding purpose in the mess. I didn't have a job, but I had a voice. I didn't have money, but I had stories. And maybe, just maybe, those stories could mean something to someone else. The journal Amara gave me became my lifeline. Every day, I poured my heart into Ita's stories of struggle, of small victories, of the people I met at the community center who were fighting their own battles. Writing wasn't just therapy, it was a rebellion against the voice in my head that said I was worthless. But the rent deadline loomed, and I needed a plan. One night, scrolling through my phone to avoid reality, I stumbled across a video of a young woman sharing her journey of overcoming anxiety. It wasn't polished, but it was raw, real, and it had thousands of views. People in the comments were thanking her, saying her story gave them hope. That's when it hit me. What if I shared my story, not just in a journal, but with the world? The idea terrified me. I wasn't a speaker, a vlogger, or anyone special, but Amara's words echoed. Find what's still whole inside you. My stories were whole. They were mine, and maybe they could help someone else feel less alone. I borrowed an old phone from a friend, set it up on a stack of books, and recorded my first video. I talked about losing my job, the shame, the fear, and how writing stories was keeping me sane. My voice shook, my lighting was terrible, but I hit upload anyway. I called it the truth about falling apart. To my shock, people watched. Not millions, but a few hundred. Then 1,000. Comments poured in. This is me right now. Thank you for being honest. Please keep going. Each comment felt like a hand reaching out, pulling me from the darkness. I kept making videos, sharing stories, and not just mine, but those of people I met at the community center, with their permission. There was Jamal, who'd lost his brother but found purpose in mentoring kids. Maria, who rebuilt her life after leaving an abusive relationship. Their stories, woven with mine, became a tapestry of resilience. The secret I'd been chasing wasn't a magic fix, it was connection. By sharing my truth, I was building a bridge to others who felt broken. My channel grew, slowly but steadily. I learned how to edit videos, how to speak with confidence, how to turn my pain into purpose. But growth brought challenges. Some viewers left cruel comments, calling my stories fake or boring. Doubt crept in. Was I fooling myself? Then I got an email from a viewer named Sarah. She was 19, struggling with depression, and said my videos made her feel seen. Your story saved me from giving up, she wrote. I cried reading it, not because I was a hero, but because I realized my stories had power. They weren't just words, they were lifelines. With the channel's growth, I started earning a little from ads, enough to pay rent, then buy groceries, then replace the plants on my windowsill. I wasn't rich, but I was surviving. More than that, I was living. I reconnected with friends, apologized for pushing them away, and invited them to share their stories too. My channel became a space for truth, for hope, for people to say, I'm struggling, but I'm still here. Amara joined me for a video, sharing her own story of loss and redemption. It went viral, with thousands sharing how her words inspired them. She laughed, saying, "You're the one who made this happen." But I knew the truth. She'd given me the spark, and I'd turned it into a flame. The secret that changed my life wasn't a formula or a shortcut. It was this: your pain, your mess, your story. It's your power. By sharing it, you don't just heal yourself, you help others heal too. Today, my channel isn't just a hobby, it's my purpose. I'm not a graphic designer anymore, I'm a storyteller. And every day, I hear from people who say my videos gave them courage to keep going. That's worth more than any job, any paycheck. I still have bad days, moments of doubt, but I open my journal, write, and remember, I'm still whole. And so are you. Whatever you're facing, your story matters. Share it, even if your voice shakes. You never know who's waiting to hear it.